The morning sun rose over New like it did every day. The colony world was beautiful. Green hills rolled across the land. Silver cities stood tall against blue skies. 8 million humans called this planet home. They had built it from nothing over 50 years. Now it was a jewel among the stars. Park woke up that morning on Earth. He was an admiral in the United Earth Fleet. He was 52 years old with gray hair and tired eyes, but those eyes still held fire. He had spent 30 years protecting humanity across the galaxy. His wife had died 10 years ago. Now his daughter lived on New with her husband and 2 children. They were the only family he had left. Looked at the photo on his desk. His granddaughter smiled back at him. She was 7 years old. Her brother was only 4, had promised to visit them next month. He missed them every single day. Anu was making breakfast. Her husband was getting ready for work. He was an engineer at the colony's power station. Their children were still sleeping. It was a normal morning, a peaceful morning, the last peaceful morning they would ever have. The Empire watched from the darkness of space. They were an old race. They had ruled their part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They believed they were better than all other species. To them, humans were nothing, just another weak race that had crawled out from their small planet. The High Council had made a decision 3 days ago. Humans were spreading too fast. They were building too many colonies. They were becoming too strong. They did not like this. They decided to send a message. They would destroy one human colony. They would show humanity its place in the galaxy. They chose New. Commander led the attack fleet. He had 12 warships under his command. Each ship was massive. Each ship carried weapons that could burn cities to ash, felt no guilt. To him, humans were like insects. Killing them meant nothing. The attack came without warning. New had a small defense force, just 20 ships to protect 8 million people. They were not ready for war. No one was ready for war. The colony had never been attacked before. Captain O commanded the defense fleet. He was a good man, a brave man. When his sensors detected the ships, his heart went cold. He knew what was coming. He also knew he could not stop it. All ships form up, ordered. His voice was calm even though his hands were shaking. We hold them as long as we can. Buy time for evacuation. The battle lasted 43 minutes. 20 human ships faced 12 warships. The humans fought with everything they had. They fought like lions. Captain rammed his damaged ship into a cruiser, destroying them both. Every single human pilot died fighting. Not one of them ran away. But it was not enough. It could never be enough. When the last human ship fell, Commander gave the order. His fleet moved into position above New. The planet looked so peaceful from space, so green, so alive. "Begin planetary bombardment," said. He felt nothing as he spoke those words. Fire rained from the sky. Was running through the streets with her children when the first blast hit. The city shook like it was being torn apart. Buildings collapsed. People screamed. She held with one arm and with the other, was right behind them. "Keep moving," he shouted. "Get to the shelter." They never made it. The second blast hit closer, much closer, felt heat wash over her. She saw white light. She pulled her children close and closed her eyes. In 3 hours it was over. New was gone. The green hills were black and burning. The silver cities were dust and rubble. 8 million voices had gone silent forever. They had killed every single person on the planet. Men, women, children, old people, young people, all of them dead. Commander looked at the burning world below. He smiled. "Send a message to the human government," he said. "Tell them this is what happens when they forget their place. Tell them to stay in their corner of the galaxy, or more colonies will burn." The message reached Earth 6 hours later. Admiral Park was in a meeting when his assistant rushed in. Her face was white. Her hands were shaking. She could barely speak. "Sir," she whispered, "New it's gone." Did not understand at first. The words made no sense. Gone? What did that mean? A colony could not just be gone. Then he saw the footage. He watched the ships arrive. He watched Captain and his brave pilots die fighting. He watched the bombardment begin. He watched cities turn to fire. He watched everything his daughter had built turn to ash. His granddaughter, 4-year-old, his daughter, her husband, all of them were dead, burned to nothing by aliens who thought humans were beneath them. The room was silent. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what he would do, waiting to see if he would break. He did not break. Admiral Park stood very still. His face showed nothing, but his eyes changed. The tired look was gone. Something else was there now, something cold, something terrible. He turned to his officers. "Contact every fleet command," he said. His voice was quiet, steady. "Contact every ship, contact every station. I want a full mobilization, everything we have." "Sir," one officer asked, "what are we doing?" Looked at the burning image of Nu still playing on the screen. "We are going to war," he said, "and we are not going to stop until every who did this is dead." No one argued, no one asked questions, they simply obeyed. Across Earth, alarms began to sound. Ships that had been sleeping woke up. Soldiers who had been resting put on their armor. Pilots who had been drinking coffee ran to their fighters. Humanity had been kicked. Humanity had been hurt. Humanity had lost 8 million of its children. Now humanity was angry. And the galaxy was about to learn what happened when you made humanity angry. The United Earth Council met 12 hours after Nu burned. The Great Hall was filled with the most powerful people in human civilization. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, admirals. They had come from every nation on Earth and every colony in space. They came because they had to, because something terrible had happened, because something had to be done. Admiral Park stood at the center of the room. He had not slept, he had not eaten, he had not cried. There would be time for tears later. Right now there was only one thing on his mind: justice. "You all know why we are here," began. His voice echoed through the silent hall. 18 hours ago, the Empire attacked our colony of Nu. They killed 8 million of our people, men, women, children. They burned our world to ash. And then they sent us a message. They told us to know our place. He paused. His eyes moved across the room. "I know my place," he said quietly. "My place is on the bridge of a warship. My place is leading our fleet into space. My place is making them pay for what they did." The room erupted. Some people shouted in support. Others shouted warnings. War with the would be costly. War with the might destroy humanity. Chancellor raised her hand for silence. She was the leader of the Earth Council, 70 years old, sharp mind, iron will. She had led humanity through hard times before, but nothing like this. "Admiral Park," she said carefully, "we understand your pain, we share your anger, but the Empire is powerful. They have ruled their space for 10,000 years. Going to war with them could mean the end of us." Nodded slowly. "That is true. War is dangerous. War is costly. Many of us will die." He took a step forward. "But if we do nothing, what message do we send? We tell the galaxy that human lives are cheap. We tell every alien race that they can kill our people without consequence. We tell our children and that we were too afraid to fight for them." The room went quiet. "I lost my daughter on Nu," continued. "I lost was 7, was 4. They died because an alien commander thought humans were insects. They died because they believed we would do nothing." He looked directly at Chancellor. "I will not prove them right." The vote was taken 1 hour later. It was not even close. Humanity had chosen war. The mobilization began immediately. It was the largest military action in human history. Every shipyard started working. Every factory switched to war production. Every fleet command received the same orders: gather your ships, prepare for battle, wait for the signal. Captain was stationed at Jupiter Station when the orders came. She was 38 years old, tall, strong. Her hair was cut short and her eyes were always watching everything. She had been a soldier for 15 years. She had fought pirates. She had fought rebels. She had never fought a real war. Now she would lead the vanguard fleet. Gathered her officers in the briefing room. There were 12 of them, young faces, scared faces, but also determined faces. They had all seen the footage from New. They all knew what they were fighting for. The fleet will assemble at Rally Point 7, told them. We have been given the honor of leading the attack. We will be the first into space. We will be the first to face their guns. Lieutenant spoke up. He was young, only 25, but he was one of the best pilots in the fleet. How many ships do we have? He asked. Smiled. It was not a happy smile. When I asked Admiral Park that question, he told me something I will never forget. He said humanity has stopped counting. He said we will bring everything. The number was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. 60,000 warships, carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, fighters, bombers, support ships, medical ships. Ships that had been retired years ago were being pulled back into service. Ships that were still being built were rushed to completion. 60,000 warships, 20 million soldiers, all of them pointed at the Empire like a loaded gun. On the commander received reports about human activity, ships moving, fleets gathering. He laughed at every report. Let them come, he told the High Council. Humans are weak. Their technology is inferior. Their soldiers are soft. We destroyed their colony with 12 ships. What can they possibly do to us? The High Council agreed. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that they had forgotten what it meant to be challenged. They had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy who would not surrender. They had never faced humanity before. Admiral spent the next 72 hours on his flagship, the Earth's Fury. It was the largest warship humanity had ever built, 2 kilometers long, enough firepower to destroy a moon. It would lead the fleet into battle. Stood on the bridge and watched the ships gather. They came from everywhere, from Earth, from Mars, from the outer colonies. They came in groups of 10, then groups of 100, then groups of 1,000. The space around Rally Point 7 filled with ships until it looked like a metal sea. His second-in-command commander stood beside him. She was 45 years old, calm, professional. She had served with for 10 years. She knew him better than anyone. The fleet is almost ready, she said. 58,000 ships confirmed, more arriving every hour. Nodded but said nothing. Sir said quietly, have you slept at all? No. Have you eaten? No. Was silent for a moment, then she spoke again. We will make them pay, every single one of them, for New, for your family, for all 8 million people they killed. Finally looked at her. His eyes were red from exhaustion, but they were also burning with purpose. I know, he said. That is why I cannot rest, not yet, not until it is done. On the third day, the fleet was ready. 60,000 warships hung in space like a storm waiting to break. 20 million humans stood at their stations, ready to fight and die for their fallen brothers and sisters. Admiral Park sent one final message to Earth before departure. We go now to face the enemy. Some of us will not return, but those who remain will carry our memory forward. We fight for New. We fight for the 8 million. We fight so that no one will ever think they can destroy our people without consequence. He paused. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. And humanity does not lose. The fleet jumped into hyperspace. 60,000 stars of light vanished from normal space. They were heading for territory. They were bringing retribution. And they had no idea what was coming. The journey through hyperspace took 4 days. 4 days of waiting. 4 days of preparing. 4 days for 60,000 ships to move silently through the void between stars. Admiral Park spent those days studying space. He memorized every planet, every station, every defense network. He learned where their fleets were stationed. He learned where their leaders lived. He learned everything he needed to know to tear their empire apart. They had no idea the storm was coming. On their of Prime, life continued as normal. The High Council met in their golden halls. They discussed trade. They discussed expansion. They discussed how well their lesson to humanity had worked. They congratulated Commander on his successful mission. "The humans have gone quiet," one council member reported. "No more expansion into our territory. No more aggressive posturing. The destruction of their colony has taught them fear." Smiled at this. He was proud of what he had done. He had made the mighty humans bow down with just 12 ships. History would remember him as the commander who put humanity in its place. He could not have been more wrong. Captain stood on the bridge of her ship, the Silent Storm. She was studying the star charts one more time. The Vanguard fleet would exit hyperspace first. They would secure the entry point while the main fleet arrived. Lieutenant approached her. "Captain," he said, "the crew is ready, but they are nervous. We have never fought them before." Looked at her young officer. She remembered being nervous before her first battle. Everyone was nervous before their first battle. That was normal. "Fear is good," she told him. "Fear keeps you sharp. Fear keeps you alive. But we do not let fear control us. We use it. We turn it into strength." Nodded. "What if their ships are stronger than ours?" Smiled. "Then we will have to be smarter, faster, more determined. They have never faced an enemy like us. They do not know what humans can do when we are angry." Across the fleet, similar conversations were happening. Officers talked to soldiers. Pilots talked to their crews. Everyone was asking the same questions. Would they survive? Would they win? Would they make the enemy pay? Admiral addressed the entire fleet on the morning of the 4th day. "In 6 hours, we will exit hyperspace at the edge of territory. We will be entering the home system of the empire that destroyed Nu. We will be facing an enemy that has never been defeated in 10,000 years." He paused to let those words sink in. But they have never faced humanity before. They have never faced people who fight not for glory or conquest, but for justice. They have never faced people who will die before they surrender. They do not know what is coming. His voice grew harder. "Today we will teach them. Today we will show the entire galaxy what happens when you murder our families, our children, our future. They wanted us to be afraid. Instead, they made us angry. And they are about to find out that an angry humanity is the most dangerous thing in the universe." The fleet erupted in cheers. Every ship, every soldier, every pilot. The sound echoed through metal corridors and command bridges. It was the sound of humanity united in purpose. 6 hours later, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Commander was the first to see it. She was monitoring the sensors when the data started coming in. Her eyes went wide. "Sir," she said to Admiral, "we have arrived, and we have achieved complete surprise." On the screen, the home system appeared. Prime hung in the center like a blue jewel. Dozens of stations orbited around it. Ships moved back and forth on normal patrol routes. Everything was peaceful. Everything was calm. They had no idea that 60,000 human warships had just appeared on their doorstep. Smiled. It was a cold smile, a wolf's smile. "Position the fleet," he ordered. "Surround the system. Block every exit point. I do not want a single ship to escape." The human armada moved like a closing fist. Ships spread out in perfect formation. They surrounded Prime from every direction. North, south, east, west, above, below. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. On Prime, alarms began to sound. Sensor operators stared at their screens in disbelief. They ran the numbers again and again. They could not believe what they were seeing. It was impossible. It had to be an error. But it was not an error. The data was clear. 60,000 enemy warships had appeared from nowhere. They were surrounding the system. They were blocking every escape route. The human fleet was larger than anything they had ever seen. Commander was dragged from his bed in the middle of the night. Officers were shouting at him. Screens were showing impossible images. His hands shook as he tried to understand what was happening. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Where did they come from? Our sensors should have detected them days ago." No one had answers. Human technology was supposed to be inferior. Human ships were supposed to be weaker. Yet here was an armada larger than the entire military surrounding there. The High Council assembled in emergency session. For the first time in 10,000 years, they were afraid. They could see the human ships on their screens. Row after row after row of warships, all pointed at their world. Then the message came. Commander sent it personally. Her face appeared on every screen on Prime. Her voice was heard in every command center. "This is Commander of the United Earth Fleet. 12 days ago, your empire destroyed our colony of Nu. You killed 8 million of our people, men, women, children. You burned them all without mercy or warning." She paused, her eyes were ice. "You wanted our attention, now you have it." The message ended. Silence fell over the. Everyone was looking at the sky where human ships blocked out the stars. Admiral Park stood on his bridge and looked at the world below. Somewhere down there was Commander. Somewhere down there were the leaders who had ordered his family killed. Somewhere down there were the monsters who had murdered 8 million innocent people. "All ships," he said quietly, "prepare for battle." The war had begun, and humanity was not going to lose. The fleet scrambled to defend there. They had 3,000 warships in the system, 3,000 of their best ships with their best crews. For 10,000 years, that had been enough to defeat any enemy. It was not enough today. Admiral Park watched the enemy ships form up on his screen. They moved in tight formations, their weapons charged, their shields activated. They were professionals, they were ready to fight. But they were outnumbered 20-1. "Admiral," Commander reported, "enemy fleet is in defensive position around the planet. They are not attacking, they are waiting." Nodded. "They know they cannot win in open battle. They are hoping their planetary defenses will save them." He studied the tactical display. Prime had orbital defense platforms, weapons satellites, ground-based cannons. They had spent centuries building those defenses. They believed nothing could break through. They were wrong. "Signal Captain," ordered. "Her Vanguard fleet will lead the first attack. Target the orbital platforms. I want a hole in their defenses within the hour." The order went out. Captain received it on her bridge. She had been waiting for this moment, preparing for this moment. Now it was time. "All Vanguard ships," she commanded. "Attack formation. Target the nearest orbital platform. Hit them hard and fast." 2,000 ships surged forward. They moved together like a school of fish, like a flock of birds, like one single organism with one single purpose. The defenses opened fire. Energy beams slashed through space. Missiles streaked toward the human ships. Some human ships were hit. Some exploded in balls of fire, but the others kept coming. They did not slow down. They did not retreat. They pushed through the fire and death like it was nothing. Lieutenant flew his fighter through the chaos. Explosions lit up the darkness around him. Enemy fire screamed past his cockpit. His hands were steady on the controls. His eyes were focused. A fighter appeared in front of him, fired. The enemy ship exploded. Another appeared. He fired again, another explosion. He was not thinking anymore. He was just reacting, fighting, surviving. "Target the platform's power core," Captain shouted over the communications channel. "Concentrate all fire." 2,000 ships fired at once. 2,000 beams of energy hit the same point at the same time. The orbital platform's shields flickered once, twice, then they failed completely. The platform exploded. Debris scattered across space like falling stars. The Vanguard fleet did not stop. They moved to the next platform, then the next, then the next. One by one, the orbital defenses fell. Humanity punched hole after hole in the shield that protected Prime. On the planet's surface, panic was spreading. Civilians ran through the streets. Military officers shouted orders that no one followed. The High Council watched the battle from their underground bunker. They could not believe what they were seeing. "How are they doing this?" one council member screamed. "Our defenses were supposed to be unbreakable." Commander stood in the corner. His face was pale. His hands would not stop shaking. He had destroyed a human colony with 12 ships. He had thought that would be the end of it. He had never imagined this. "We need to surrender," he said quietly. Every head in the room turned to him. "What did you say?" the High Council leader demanded. Pointed at the screens. "Look at them. They have 60,000 ships. We have 3,000. Our defenses are falling. Our fleet cannot hold them. If we keep fighting, they will kill everyone on this planet." "We do not surrender," the leader snarled. "They have never surrendered in 10,000 years. We will fight to the last soldier." "Then you will die," said. "All of us will die, just like the humans on New died." The room went silent. In space, the battle continued. The main human fleet had joined the attack now. 60,000 ships pressed forward. The fleet was being pushed back, ship by ship, line by line. They were losing. Admiral stood on his bridge and watched. His face showed nothing. But inside he felt something he had not felt in days. Satisfaction. Not joy, not happiness. Just cold, hard satisfaction. The enemy was falling. Justice was being served. "Sir," Commander said, "we have identified the flagship. Commander is aboard." His eyes found the ship on the display. It was a beautiful vessel, large and powerful, the pride of the fleet. "Target it," said, "but do not destroy it yet. Disable its engines. I want alive." The order was carried out. Human ships surrounded the flagship. They hit its engines with precise strikes. The great ship shuddered and went still. It was helpless now, trapped. The rest of the fleet saw their flagship fall. Their morale collapsed. Ships began to surrender. Others tried to run. None of them escaped. Human ships were everywhere. There was no way out. Lieutenant Shin was one of the pilots who surrounded the flagship. He was young, only 23. His sister had lived on New. She had been a teacher. She had been kind and gentle and good. They had burned her to ash along with all her students. Looked at the helpless flagship floating in space. He thought about his sister. He thought about the children she had taught. He thought about all 8 million people who had died. "For New," he whispered. Around him, thousands of other voices said the same thing. Pilots in their cockpits, soldiers at their stations, officers on their bridges. The words spread through the fleet like a prayer. "For New." The battle was ending. The fleet was destroyed. Their defenses were gone. They were surrounded. 10,000 years of empire had come crashing down in a single day. Admiral opened a communication channel to the planet below. "This is Admiral Park of the United Earth Fleet. Your military has been defeated. Your defenses have been destroyed. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. If you refuse, we will begin orbital bombardment." He paused. "You killed 8 million of our people. You killed my daughter. Today you will answer for that crime." The message ended. On the surface, the High Council made their choice. They had no choice left. The surrender came 43 minutes later. The war was over. But for Admiral, justice had only begun. The surrender of the Empire was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species with a screen saw it. Every civilization with ears heard it. A 10,000-year-old empire had fallen in a single day to the humans they had dismissed as weak. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the leaders walk across the metal floor of the landing bay. They were small now, broken. The proud rulers who had ordered the death of 8 million humans now hung their heads in shame. Commander was among them. His uniform was torn, his face was bruised, his eyes were empty. He had thought himself a hero for burning new. Now he was a prisoner waiting to face justice for his crimes. The surrender documents were signed in the main hall of the Earth's Fury. Chancellor had traveled from Earth to witness the moment. She stood beside Admiral as the High Council leader pressed his mark onto the agreement. With this signing, announced, the Empire acknowledges full responsibility for the unprovoked attack on Nu. They will pay full reparations for the destruction they caused, and they will hand over all individuals responsible for the massacre to human courts for trial. Commander was the first to be taken away. Human soldiers put restraints on his wrists. He did not fight. He did not speak. He simply walked between them like a man already dead. As he passed Admiral, he finally looked up. "I did not know," said quietly. "I did not know you would come like this. I thought you were weak." Looked at the alien who had killed his family. His daughter, he felt anger, he felt grief, but mostly he felt tired, so very tired. "That was your mistake," said. "You did not understand us. You saw small ships and small numbers and you thought that meant weakness. You were wrong." Was taken away. He would stand trial on Earth. He would be found guilty. He would spend the rest of his life in a prison cell thinking about what he had done. Some said that was too merciful. Some wanted him executed. But Admiral had argued against that. Death was too quick, too easy. He wanted to live a long life. He wanted him to wake up every morning and remember the faces of the 8 million people he had murdered. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy watched and learned. Captain became famous. Her Vanguard fleet had led the charge that broke the defenses. Reporters wanted to interview her. Politicians wanted to honor her. She refused all of it. "I did not fight for fame," she told Commander one evening. "I fought because it was right. I fought because those people deserved justice. That is all." Lieutenant received a medal for his actions during the battle. He had destroyed 17 enemy ships and helped disable the flagship. When they pinned the medal on his chest, he thought about Captain O, the man who had rammed his ship into the enemy at Nu, the man who had bought time for an evacuation that never happened. "This belongs to the people who died defending Nu," said. "I was just finishing what they started." Lieutenant Shin returned to Earth after the war. He visited the memorial they had built for the victims of Nu, 8 million names carved into black stone. It took him 3 hours to find his sister's name. When he found it, he stood there and cried. He cried for the first time since the war began. A little girl approached him. She was maybe 6 years old. She looked up at him with curious eyes. "Why are you sad?" she asked. Wiped his eyes. "I lost my sister," he said. "She is one of the names on this wall." The girl was quiet for a moment. Then she reached up and took his hand. "My mommy says the people on the wall are heroes," she said. "She says they are watching us from the stars." Looked at the little girl. Then he looked at the wall, all those names, all those lives, all those dreams that had been burned away. "Your mommy is right," he said. The Empire was not destroyed. Humanity had not come for conquest. They had come for justice. Once that justice was served, they left. But things were different now. They would never again be the power they once were. Their military was shattered. Their pride was broken. They would spend centuries rebuilding what they had lost. Other species took notice. They had watched the war. They had seen what humanity could do when pushed too far. They had seen 60,000 warships appear from nowhere and crush an ancient empire in a single day. The message was clear. Humans were not weak. Humans were not prey. Humans were dangerous in a way no one had expected. They were slow to anger but terrible in their rage. They forgave small insults. They ignored petty challenges, but attacked their homes, kill their families, murder their children. Then they would come for you with everything they had. Admiral Park retired 1 year after the war. He had done what he set out to do. He had avenged his daughter, all 8 million souls who had died on Nu. But he was tired now. The fire that had burned in his eyes had faded. He had given everything to the war. Now he had nothing left. He spent his final years on a small farm on Earth. He grew vegetables. He watched the sunset. He thought about little. He talked to them sometimes when no one else was around. "We did it," he would whisper to the empty air. "We made them pay. You can rest now." When Admiral Park died at the age of 71, he was buried with full military honors. Millions watched the funeral. Ships flew overhead in formation. Soldiers saluted as his coffin passed. But the most important moment came at the end. Commander, now Admiral, stood before the crowd and spoke. "Admiral Park taught us something important," she said. "He taught us that humanity will always protect its own. He taught us that we will never let our people be forgotten. He taught us that justice may be slow, but it always comes." She looked at the coffin. "Rest well, sir. You earned it." The funeral ended. People went home. Life continued, but the lesson remained. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. And if you harm their children, if you burn their homes, if you kill their families, then humanity will come for you. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. They will gather their ships. They will sharpen their weapons. They will cross the stars to find you. And when they arrive, no force in the galaxy will save you. That was the lesson of Nu. That was the truth the galaxy learned. And it was a truth they would never forget.